Think back to your own school days for a second. Was the best way to learn really just memorizing stuff from a textbook? What if a classroom felt more like a workshop, or a playground, or even a lab? Well, something big is happening right now in how we train our teachers. It's a huge shift away from that old school passive learning and towards something way more hands-on and honestly a lot more exciting. Let's dive in.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. We're going to start by looking at the classic challenge that classrooms have faced for years. Then we'll see the national policy that totally shook things up. We'll get into the fun stuff, these new methods of learning through play, and see how tomorrow's teachers are actually being trained today. After that, we'll see it all in action and think about what this really means for the future of education.
All right, first things first, the problem. For decades, education has been bumping up against the same wall. The limits of just sitting there and listening. That traditional passive way of learning.
On one hand, you've got rote memorization. That's the classic textbook method, right? You read, you memorize, you spit it back out on a test. It's totally passive. But on the other hand, you have experiential learning, where students actually learn by doing, by touching things, by experimenting. That's active. So the big question is, how do you get from one to the other?
And that's the real dilemma for educators. It's one thing to have these great ideas, but it's a whole other ballgame to actually prepare new teachers to make it work everywhere. Not just in a high-tech city classroom, but also in a remote school that might not have a lot of resources. Now that is the real test.
So what lit the fuse for this massive shift? Well, the catalyst was a huge national policy that basically called for a complete reinvention of the classroom.
And just listen to the wording here. This isn't some polite suggestion. This is a direct mandate from India's national education policy. It's saying, let's cut out the fluff and focus on what really matters. Critical thinking, discovery, discussion. It's an official green light to make learning active and to make it mean something.
Okay, so if you're going to change things up that much, you need a whole new toolkit, right? And the heart of that new toolkit can really be boiled down to 3 simple words: learning through play.
Now, before we jump into the fun stuff, let's just get one word out of the way. Pedagogy. I know, it sounds super academic, right? But it's not. All it really means is the way we teach. And the methods we're about to see, they're all designed to make learning more joyful, more interesting, to tap into the way our brains are already wired to learn from experience.
So what's actually in this new pedagogical toolkit? Well, get this. We're talking about teaching with toys, integrating learning into sports, using stories, and even using games. Instead of just reading about a concept, students are now literally playing with it, interacting with it, living it. It's all about making the abstract real and tangible.
But here's the thing, right? These awesome ideas are only as good as the teachers who can actually bring them to life in the classroom. So the next absolutely crucial step was to completely reshape how teachers are trained from the ground up.
Now, student teachers go through this really smart, structured internship. They don't just get thrown into the deep end. They start by just observing in their 3rd semester. Then they get their feet wet with a 1-month teaching phase. And finally, by their 7th semester, they're taking on a full 3-month intensive teaching period. It's all about building skill and confidence step by step.
And this is where it gets really cool. These student teachers are challenged to make their own teaching tools from whatever low-cost, local stuff they can find. It's this whole idea of creating wealth from waste. So they're not just learning how to teach, they're learning how to be resourceful, creative inventors. They even have toy fairs to show off their amazing creations.
Okay, so that's the theory. But what does this actually look like in a real classroom with real kids? Let's get into some fantastic, practical examples of these new methods at work.
All right, picture this. You have to teach the concept of time and distance. Instead of a dry formula on a whiteboard, a teacher sets up a little toy road with 2 battery-operated cars. The students can physically see that even if the cars are going the same speed, the one that travels a longer distance takes more time. And just like that, a complex physics concept becomes, well, child's play. It just clicks.
Or how about a math lesson? To teach something like area and perimeter, a teacher takes the whole class outside to a football field. The students are out there physically measuring the ground, calculating the sides, and figuring out the formulas for themselves. The field literally becomes their textbook. It's a lesson they're never, ever going to forget.
So you can see this is so much bigger than just a few clever lesson plans. This is about rethinking the very nature of education and where it's all going.
The path forward seems to be this amazing blend of the physical and the digital. On one hand, yes, let's store and share all the best handmade toys and games. But at the same time, people are looking ahead, encouraging the creation of virtual toys and even using AI tools to help teachers brainstorm and build out these incredible innovative lessons.
So really, we're left with this one big, thought-provoking idea. By turning the whole world into a classroom, we're unlocking a totally new way of learning. And it really makes you wonder, if a toy car can teach physics and a football field can teach geometry, what can't they teach?